I'll start by thanking the largest group that we've ever had in, I don't know how many years I've done this, in the regulatory discussion. It was the most diverse group and for me the most beneficial of all of the discussions. I want to thank all of you for staying to listen to all of these comments. And particularly, Mr. Speaker, Madam Secretary, Mr. Treasurer, and Mr. Secretary, thank you for being here, because otherwise it's one hand clapping. I mean, you know, not much happens. A lot of what we talk about in regulations isn't always about what happens in the legislature. A lot of it is what happens in our different agencies throughout the state. So as I go through these things today, please understand that we don't have a recommendation for every element. We will have written comments. We'll get into things for water supply, for breweries, for child care, for so many different industries. But this is really kind of an overview of the things that we think are most important for all of Rhode Island in talking about regulations. First, it needs to be, we need to be the customer service state. I mean, it's what we do in our businesses, correct? No matter how big or small. Customer service defines our success. So we need to streamline. We've talked about this before. We're not done, clearly, as has been previously stated. We need to knock down the silos that keep us from interacting Treasury with Secretary of State and all of the different aspects of our communication. We need to encourage interagency communication. We need the lean process must be continual and successful. It's customer service again and again and again. We need to, one of the ideas that comes out from one of the legislators that was here with us today is to create master applications by industry. That we know that the Secretary of State's office has done a lot of this work in trying to, with starting business up fast, and other of our agencies, DBR and Commerce, have tried. We're not there yet. Again, it's so critical to try to help people be successful, rather than stringing lines as we as business people walk in the dark. We need regulators there to be with us, turning the lights on to make sure that we're successful. We need to update our building codes to the 2018 standards. We've been holding back. Some of that is based on financial review that we've advocated for. So even some of the things that we've advocated we think are holding back our processes. But I guess we have a recommendation for that further on. But it's absolutely vital that our contractors, our designers, our building owners are getting their buildings built to the most current national standards. We need to mandate the use of the electronic building permit system. We've got some, we've had some great success in that. And while Rhode Island isn't well known for success in IT operations, this is actually a great success for the state of Rhode Island, and the work that's been done by Commerce, by ORR, and the other agencies that have had a hand in it, the building inspectors' offices and such, where a building permit can be obtained online today. And that's a discussion that we started, I think, 8 years ago. And it's finally in place, but there's some resistance. There shouldn't be any resistance. We're one state, and with 39 cities and towns that need to comply. It's customer service, basic stuff. We need to consider what has been done with the mandatory sick time. Whether we agree or disagree with the bill, and some of us disagreed, the circumstances such that it exists. Well, what's happening is DLT has now taken over 6 months to promulgate the regulations. Thousands, tens of thousands of businesses are seeing a shrinking timeline from today going forward to July 1st, when the impact of that regulation is going to hit business. They need to access the consultants and outside resources that are too few to be able to help them upgrade their personnel manuals such that they don't fall into non-compliance on other issues and actually get to a point of compliance with the new rule. That's not customer service. We haven't thought this out well enough. And some consideration must be given to the business at the final end that has to create their own processes. It's customer service. We need to communicate and educate. An idea comes forward that we have data throughout all of our agencies that identifies where we have the highest levels of noncompliance. We should be, if it was in our businesses, we would be looking at those failures and saying, how do we fix them? Do we do that in government? I think in some agencies perhaps we do. We need to do more, to the point that why are people failing to meet sales tax obligations, failing to meet income tax obligations, or any other of the myriad of details? If there's a strong occurrence of failure, doesn't it mean that we need to inform and educate more deliberately and appropriately? Again, that's customer service. We need to eliminate apprenticeship restrictions. We need every worthy apprentice to get the opportunity to go to work within the smallest of our businesses. We need to go slow and extremely carefully with marijuana legislation at every level. I would say that in this circumstance, that business is actually fearful of the impact that it will have. Not to the point of whether or not people should be using marijuana, but the impact of people using marijuana who then go to work, and the myriad of complications that presents to our business leadership. Again, customer service. Think about the impact on that customer, and the customer is the business that exists here in Rhode Island. We need to explore and strongly consider the opportunity to create the Office of Inspector General. We think that possibility is something that parallels what is already happening in the Office of Regulatory Reform. If you go to the Office of Regulatory Reform website today, you'll see a dashboard that we advocated for last year that demonstrates how many thousands of pages of regulations have been removed and how many hundreds of regulations have been eliminated. It's detailed work, it's cumbersome, it's challenging in every way, but it's absolutely necessary that that office continue to be able to do that work and get the kind of staffing support that perhaps it needs to be able to deal with the financial evaluations that are kind of falling to them when the agencies can't do it. So both, how do we invest as a state to make sure that we become efficient and effective as a state? I think that is the question, perhaps, as it relates to the, we think that's the question as it relates to the Inspector General. So basically, we need Rhode Island to strive to be the easiest place to do business in every aspect. We need to be flexible with holiday rules. We need true biweekly pay, not this sort of biweekly pay opportunity that we have today. Think about the customer. What does the business have to go through to be able to accomplish some of these circumstances? So it's about customer service, it's about streamlining, it's about lean. We'll always need some form of incentive policy, Mr. Secretary. I don't want to suggest that we shouldn't. But the best incentive is a place that is business friendly. And Meredith O'Connor of Jones Lang LaSalle, one of the larger real estate support groups, was quoted recently in Site Selection magazine, and I think she gets it absolutely right. Economic incentives will never make a bad location good. Let's make Rhode Island a great location. Make it easier to do business. Thank you.